I think if you can see the human being and understand the challenges that they're going through, you can create an amazing business which solves exactly what they're looking for. Right? And I think, in these difficult times of financial and economic uncertainty, I think the best investment people can make is in themselves.
Welcome to And Then I Did This. Prepare to be inspired as we celebrate the unique journeys of individuals who've had the courage to break free and live life on their own terms. Their lives prove that you truly can be free to live your best and most authentic life. Let's get to it. Welcome to the show. Today, I have a special guest, Jonathan Maharaj. He's the CFO, a strategist, and the financial advisor who believes the best business decisions start with clarity, not spreadsheets. He has 2 decades of experience. He's guiding startups to global brands through make or break moments. And he's the founder of Aurora Financials. It's a remote first advisory built on radical trust and a simple philosophy: help people first and the money follows. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lorraine. I'm happy to be here and grateful to have the opportunity to speak with you today.
Yes, so fun, so fun. Share a little bit about your journey, because you have an interesting start in life, where you started and where you are now.
Yes, no, thank you. I grew up in a place called Fiji. It's amazing with branding, but actually when you visit that place, it's so beautiful, right? The beaches, the warmth. It's like a tropical paradise. And I was grateful to grow up there in the 80s. Despite the beauty, it's a country that has had many political challenges. And I think, you get to a point when you are young and you're educated and you see the instability, that you realize that, despite the beauty and the warmth of having family and friends around, there's just really no future there with all of that uncertainty. So after graduating, I worked at PwC for a few years and earned my stripes, and I thought I had enough experience. And you realize that the world's just such a big place. And I've always had big dreams, and I thought, why not just take a chance and just go for it? So I left and I moved overseas. I've lived in New Zealand now for a number of years, and basically it's like starting from the bottom all over again. You come to a new country, you've got to integrate, you have to learn the culture, you don't have any networks or connections or anything. So it's literally just starting from zero again. And that was quite a challenging time in my life. But I think when you're young and you go through those challenges, I think it sets you up to have a more grounded perspective to, how you manage your career and how you make good decisions and going forward. So I spent a few years in a smaller or mid-tier accounting firm, did my CPA qualification, was fortunate then to get a job at the New Zealand Stock Exchange. So I was an accountant working with lawyers for about 8 years. And that was very interesting because they think differently, and I learned a lot, and then ended up managing a team that does enforcement work. And I worked with listed companies and brokers. And it was really interesting because it's not in the sphere that I graduated in, which is financial. This is purely literal, like legal and this stuff. But what it did for me was it just created a base of, hey, now I've got multi skills that are broader. And then it set me up because then I worked at a bank for a year. I didn't enjoy working there, so I left. And then I just jumped into my business, which I kind of built up as a side hustle over a number of years. And yeah, it's been an interesting journey. But I think, through hard times come good times.
Absolutely. And I think that listening to the experiences of the various different places you were at, you also see different structures and different environments and different ways of working, that you dealt with business strategy, you dealt with money, you dealt with people and politics and all that you're so well-rounded to now have a business of your own, that you take all the best parts of all, I'm presuming the best parts of all of those places. You know what you don't want to be doing, but you know what you do want to be doing. And it sounds like that is what is the foundation of what you're using as you're creating what you are with your new business. Yeah. And it's not necessarily new, but your business. Yeah.
No, that it's a good summary. And I think many financial professionals are amazing at spreadsheets and financial plans and, I'm going to make you make this much money in X number of years. And they really are comfortable with the numbers and what those plans and formulas and all of that. But I think you have to really understand people, what drives them. Because in my experience, like I'm young, but internally, I think I've aged a lot because most of my clients have been messy clients and they've had dysfunction or they've had board collapses and issues. And I often get called upon to fix the issues. And my approach is really simple. I work on the culture and I understand what they're trying to achieve. Because in my experience, you can have a perfect plan that will achieve the outcome that your client or the person that you're working with wants. All they need to do is follow the 7 steps or 8 steps or 9 steps or the strategies you've given them. But even then, Lure, people will still go in an opposite direction because their emotions are not really invested or aligned with the logic of what you're presenting. So I feel like, my role is really being like a bridge between finance people and culture and trying to help people work through, the shifts that they need to internally in terms of mindset or respect for others. And just sometimes people fight over petty things. And the more closer we are together and respectful of others, the stronger we are to move forward as one unit to achieve the goals that we have for ourselves and our organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's wisdom. Absolutely wisdom. Something came to mind as you were sharing that it can be mind blowing. You can think the biggest companies have it all figured out. And, one of my former employers and last ad agency role was WPP. And in the news yesterday, they just hired McKinsey to come in and fix their business, which is mind blowing when you think about, so I know in your background, you work with everyone from founders, startups, all the way through global brands that are well established, which gives you an array of insight and knowledge and experience that is not common, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm grateful because I think that's the beauty of starting in an audit career as a profession. You get to talk to the CEO and the CFO all the way down to the receptionist who is tracking data of, who's coming in and out of the office. Because whereas a traditional accounting role, you just start off in one function and you're at that for a few years and then you move forward. And I think really, I've always had this thirst for knowledge and understanding like how things work. And I find that with audit, you can really look under the hood and see how the engine is actually operating.
All right.
And in this age of financial influencers who are, causing, in my opinion, a lot of, because they are unqualified, they are unregulated, they are motivated by commission to push whatever product comes their way. The world kind of needs a common sense approach from someone like myself to say, hey, look, yes, there are opportunities out there. There are risks. There are rates of return. Do your due diligence. Think before you act. Do not make emotional decisions. Like these are the fundamentals that have stood the test of time. And what I found dealing with, a small individual or a small company all the way up to a listed company is that just because you are larger, to your point of your friend's company, doesn't mean you have got all your things together. What I found is that there's inherent dysfunction in these bigger organizations because leadership is detached and from the reality of what customers are experiencing because they're in a comfortable head office in some fancy place with an amazing view. Whereas people on the front line who are actually dealing with customers know what needs to change.
Right.
And I feel this is the reason why, in terms of a strategic point of view, many companies with good ideas eventually fail. Look at Kodak with their camera. Look at BlackBerry with their phone. They think they have got it all sorted out, and then eventually somebody with a bit more proximity to the customer and their problem comes up with a better solution. And I feel that that those inherent dysfunctions, in audit, in my experience, there's 3 reasons for an issue, right? It could be a system issue, could be a process issue, it could be a people issue. Most of the time, it's people issues, because you can set up an amazing system or a process, but people are not following what they need to be doing, or they have not set it up properly, or they're not monitoring what they need to do. And so a lot of what differentiates me from other consultants and, getting in a McKinsey or some other big consulting firm really is a defensive tactic by a board to protect themselves from litigation, right? And that's why they would spend $1 million or $2 million or however it is for McKinsey to come in. This is the funny thing, Lure. Surely the board and their management knows their business better than somebody who's just turned up and who's going to recycle templates that they've got from other clients and resources across the network, right? Mm-hmm. Just to present something to you of options that you can choose, which surely your board should be skilled enough to already have those, that knowledge of what needs to be done. But I think they do this to protect themselves by saying that we got an independent third party to come in and review our operations to restructure and all of that. These are their recommendations, but even McKinsey says in their engagement letter, do not mention that McKinsey told us to do this, right? You make your own decisions. And I think, there is a place for consultants in the world. Do they address the root cause of why these issues have occurred? I don't think so.
I mean, I'm partly laughing just because of a recent lawsuit that was filed against one of the big consulting firms for using AI, and the documents that came out had incorrect, inaccurate information, undocumented sources, and they were sued for millions of dollars. So it just add the AI element into the mix, and God knows what you could come up with, from even the consulting firms. So
AI is useful, and I think it's transformative, and it can help us a lot. But I think the key thing for us to do is to really use it as an assistant rather just than as a replacement for your own knowledge, experience, and judgment. Right. It can save time, it can save money, and it sometimes opens up your mind to what other options are possible. But it's essential to kind of use it as a helpful resource rather than write my report and create new legal precedents like Deloitte did in Australia for a government contract, which was a large one. It's embarrassing, but we know it's happening. It's just
absolutely. So talk a little bit about you talked a bit when you were sharing your trajectory to your own business, which is for most people, I think is a utopia, because you're really getting freedom from the shackles of someone else, looking over your shoulder, checking your performance and that kind of thing. So the process for you to set yourself up to go out on your own. Talk a little bit about how that happened and what you learned along the way and advice you might have for people.
I think the real driver for what led me to where I'm at was I just got tired of the BS of corporate politics, having to justify why you need to take leave in order to go for a family milestone event, dealing with the gaslighting and the lack of support from our manager, and being in this awkward position of having seen, most of your team resign in such a short amount of time, despite you coming into an organization and being there just for a short amount of time to help improve things. And you ask people about what's happening and all of this stuff, and you can triangulate where the issue is, right? And it's people and culture, right? It's management, it's leadership. Right. And I think the key thing for me was I had the wisdom to start building up my business as a side hustle, mainly because it is a significant financial risk to rely on just one job. Mm-hmm. For many of us, our parents or grandparents were of the era where you would be in a company and you would be there all your career and you would retire, and they would honor your length of service. These days, corporates, they say we're a family, but they just start chopping thousands of jobs as though people are disposable, And so I really don't like this term human resources. I know. Because it is inherently exploitative. Mm-hmm. Humans are not resources. They are sentient beings. They have feelings. Mm-hmm. They have up and down days. Within us, we have the potential to do great evil, but also great good.
Right.
Our choices define how we go, our upbringing, the environment we're in, the opportunities we get, right?
Right.
And I think, once you shift from that human resource exploitative mindset to a human being that I'm dealing with,
Right.
you realize that now as a leader, you can connect with them inherently, internally.
Right.
You can work with them to motivate them in a way that works for them because everyone's different, right?
Right.
And, seeing all of this mess and just basically having a ceiling, we've all been there, Lure. We give our heart and soul and effort into a business only at the end of the year to get like a 3% increase in salary and being told that you lack this or that in order to move forward. Whereas the reality of it is somebody has a budget that they're working towards, right?
Right.
And that's why they can't promote you.
Yep.
And so for me, I was like, look, I had this self-belief that I had something that people wanted because I led with genuine care and the intent to help people. Like the money was secondary. And my side hustle started, for over like 8 years, and it was small in the beginning. And it just really started off with me wanting to keep up with my accounting and audit designations because I was in a role where it was non-accounting audit related. So there's no conflict of interest, right? And so the way I started was I just started helping local charities and community organizations because in my family, growing up in Fiji, you don't grow up with a lot, but you grow up with this charitable spirit where we would share the little we have. And this is why I'm saying Fiji is such a beautiful place because when you go there, you will see poverty and third world firsthand, but you'll see the beauty of paradise and the beauty within people, the warmth of people who are like rich spiritually. And they realize that money and all of these other things has its place, but there's beauty in nature, there's beauty in looking after people.
Right.
And so I left that bank within a year and I said to him, look, I've got this side hustle. I know I've got something here.
Right. Right. So I know that if people listen to this who are looking for inspiration at times to reevaluate maybe where they're at, what advice would you give to someone who is in a role where they know the expiration date has passed and they need to do something, or they've lost their job and they're not even sure what to do next? What words of advice would you give people listening if they want to pursue an independent income on their own?
These are incredibly challenging times, and with as much empathy as I can, I understand, and I've been in this situation where you're out of work for months at a time, and you're trying to get back into a corporate role, or you're looking for better work because the culture where you're at is not good. And I think that's why a lot of the work that I'm doing now adds value because I've lived that experience. I've seen what a dysfunctional workplace looks like, what manipulation and gaslighting does to people and their confidence. And for a lot of people that are in toxic workplaces, you start self-doubting your own value and abilities. So my first tip is, regardless of what's happening around you, know that you are loved and appreciated. Somebody somewhere is looking up to you and depends on you, right? Find your source of strength through love of family, love of your children, love of those who look up to you. That solves a lot of your challenges that you go through, right? And what it does is it helps you to really live with gratitude each day that, hey, look, I have a job. Yes, it's a messy environment, but you know what? Internally, I am happy. I'm content. I will continue to push and evolve and improve myself because the best investment is in yourself. So while you're looking, keep upskilling, learn about AI, learn about other skills, learn about other industries. We can learn a lot from them and apply to our work. And if you're out of work, my advice is please never give up. Like I have been through the experience of sending hundreds or 1,000 plus applications, right? And I knew I had good experience and all that, but some people put up barriers of like, you don't have local experience. And I'm like, dude, accounting is debits and credits with 5,000 years of this. Tax may be different, but why are you putting up barriers, right? And for many people, it's it's the unknown of when you hire somebody, how are they going to perform, right? And so I would say to somebody who's looking for work, your resume or your CV gets you the interview, and your interview gets you the job. So if you're not getting interviews, focus on your resume or your CV. Use ChatGPT, read up on what works best.
So thank you so much for all the advice and sharing your journey. And I guess is there any final message you'd like to leave with people?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to, share my thoughts and insights with your audience. And I think with a lot of the problems that we have in the world, right, there's a lot of negativity. I think there is a place for optimism, hope, faith, and, just uplifting others. And I think if you can see the human being and understand the challenges that they're going through, you can create an amazing business which solves exactly what they're looking for. Right? And I think, in these difficult times of financial and economic uncertainty, I think the best investment people can make is in themselves.
Absolutely.
Find peace, find happiness, find beauty in the simplicity of life.
So I will be posting, but the links will be listed in the show notes, and people, and your name obviously is on the screen, but yeah, so people can find you, and I encourage them to follow you on LinkedIn because you share so much good information there. Anybody who is wanting any kind of help in any of the areas that Jonathan has touched on, you will be inspired and definitely have things to think about with your content, because you definitely share some really helpful, heart-centered information, and then very practical business advice. So it's that whole array of inspiration to tactical insight that people can apply. So thank you so much for the time and coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Lulu, for the opportunity.
And that's a wrap on another episode of And Then I Did This, celebrating the lives of those who've walked away from the beaten path to pursue work and a life that nourishes their soul. If you're feeling inspired and ready to explore your own path to freedom, check out youcanbefree.life, where you'll find resources and support to help you break free and live life on your own terms. See you next time.